Hey, it's Jose. Thanks for joining me on my journey to I Am. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness convert child from the time I was 5 until I was 19 when I left the faith. My mom's still a Jehovah's Witness. None of my siblings are. I had something go through my mind this morning. I was thinking about words because yesterday I was watching something else. Savan Bomar. He's got his own theories on things. He's an advanced adept. He's certainly researched a lot of knowledge. He wrote a book called The Code to the Matrix, and he offered it to the world for free. So you can actually go online and read it, or it's online for an audio version if you want. YouTube has like 5 parts. I was able to listen to it while reading it because there's a lot of pictures and diagrams that were very knowledgeable. So anyhow, this morning I had a thought go through my mind, and it was about the word human being. Because it reminded me, because yesterday is the Savan Bomar. I was reading The Code to the Matrix again. So I was reading it again because I had sent it to my brother and I wanted to refresh my memory on what was in there. And I came across this guy here was saying that atmosphere, if you look at the word atmosphere, atmosphere, that's where we live. We live where fear is, it's almost like a construct that's designed to cause fear. Because, has anybody seen the movie Monsters, Inc.? And I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but do you remember the movie Monsters, Inc.? And the whole premise of the movie was that there was these monsters that lived in an alternate universe, like a different dimension, and they would come here through the closet and they would scare the children and literally suck the fear into like a bottle, and you'd bottle up that fear and use it as energy for their society. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm saying that it's possible that something from another dimension could be utilizing our fear as a source of food or energy. Like that's absolutely plausible to me. So this morning when I just was thinking about, I don't know what I was thinking about, but all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay, we're human beings. And I just went, we're being human. That's what the words human being means. Human being. We're being humans. And I was just, the more and more that I pay attention to the words that are said, because go back to John 1:1, and the word was God. The word was a God. John 1:1. I'm going blank on the scripture now. Anyhow, it was that the word was a God, right? The word was God. So words create. And I just wanted to share that with you today. It was profound to me, because when we're not being human, what are we being? And I know that if you grew up in the Jehovah's Witness faith like I did, you believe that you return to dust. But I've been studying many other faiths for some time now, and there's a lot of other faiths that don't believe that. They believe that the energy recycles, and it could be that we just recycle back into, the trees, the grass, and we don't have consciousness, but there's faiths out there that do believe that we actually have consciousness. And there's actually been a few times when I had like a past life, not like a regression, but okay, so one time I was doing my tiling and I was doing the grout. I was fixing the grout up at the top. I was tiling my bathroom and, trying to shape the grout to make it look nice. And all of a sudden I had this flashback of being an artist, a man. And this all come in like this, flash, and all of a sudden it was almost like I had this memory of a past life. I was a man. It was like maybe mid-1500s, like the time of Leonardo da Vinci. I was wearing like a long robe. I had a gray beard, and I was gay. I was gay in that lifetime. My partner was a man. I was an artist. I was making a bust. So I was like carving this bust. And if you know what a bust is, it's like a statue of like only this part up. So in this flashback, I was creating a bust, and I knew that I could paint, I could sculpt, I could carve, and I was an artist. I'm not saying, I don't think I was Leonardo da Vinci or anything like that, but I was certainly an artist, and that I was gay. And in that lifetime, somebody that's very close to me, I know that that person was my partner in that lifetime. And that's why I love that person so much today. I'm not like in love with her in this lifetime, but in that lifetime, it's so weird how all this information came up to me in one time. And this was before I started on any journey to anything. Like this happened before I think I was even had my accident, my original accident back in 2006-7 when I tore a disc in my back. And anyhow, so a bunch of years go by, and when I was doing my water meditations, the very first time, it wasn't the first time, but like, at the beginning of my water meditations, when I first really started to learn how to go in the zone, I had a flashback. And the flashback was that I had been a woman in Africa. My name was Gizinga. And again, this comes in a flash, and all of a sudden you have all of these memories, and you're just like, and I was, when I was born with a cleft palate, and my teeth were like, and so my parents actually gave me up. They gave me up for, they brought me and dropped me off at like the shamans. They just left me there as a baby. So I ended up getting raised by the shamans and becoming like a shaman myself. And I don't know when this would have been, but I had like scraggly brown hair, almost like I was malnutrition, like, because it was kind of like blondie, even though I was like an African person, and it was scraggly, like it wasn't like curls, or it was just like a scraggly, almost like an Aboriginal from Australia, except that I know that I was living in Zimbabwe, and that my village loved me. Like the people in my village, they respected me and they loved me, but the men did not. The men would snicker at me every time my back was turned, because I was so ugly. Like I really had these cleft, like, and I was like, but I was so kind to the people, and the people liked me because I was loving to the people. And which is kind of funny, because where would I get this stuff from? Like it's possible that I tapped into the energy of the universe, the consciousness, and tapped into somebody else's life. Like, I mean, I'm the kind of person, I don't just assume I believe or assume that I know, but I certainly like to hear theories of what that could have been. So does anybody have any theories of what you think that I saw? Could I be seeing somebody else's life? Could it be a past life of mine? Because it certainly felt real to me. And that stayed with me today, till today. Like that stuck with me. So some years, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, I actually went to go get QHHT therapy. It's quantum hypnosis therapy, but it's a past life regression. So I went to see the lady, and I wasn't like totally hypnotized, like to the point where I don't remember what I was doing, but they put you in this really relaxed state, and because I already know how to do meditation, I can quickly go into that state. And I was in that state, and so she's asking me questions, and so I came into, all of a sudden I was a little boy, and I was about maybe 10, and I have this on a recording, like I actually recorded this, and she recorded it for me on a USB, and I was a little boy, and I was wearing like a tunic, like it was just a white, wasn't white, kind of like an off-white tunic, like a little, if you know what it's like, a dress, but back in the olden days. And then I was going to the seashore, because I lived in a village that was a seashore village, but it was like a mountain seashore, and then there was like a crevice in the mountain, and our village was in this crevice. And my father was gone. He was gone. He would go for weeks at a time. I don't know what he was doing, but my mother was there, and she was preparing bread on like a tabletop that was directly on the ground. Like she was sitting on close to the ground, and she was making this type of bread. I think it was like an unleavened bread because there was no ovens. She was just kind of like frying them. And then I remember like walking around the village. There was one old man that we would all go to, and he was kind of like the teacher. So then I got sent to go get clams or oysters or whatever. I don't know. The water recedes every morning and we go get clams. So I went out there with the other kids to go get clams, and I had noticed that the water was like gone. It was like, wasn't just receded, it was like gone. And then all of a sudden there was this wall of water coming at me, and I just stood there because I didn't know what was happening, and it was a tsunami, and my whole village got washed away. And that was pretty intense, feeling that. And I've always had a fear of water. And anyhow, so she takes me out of that. She's like, okay, I'm taking you out of this. And she like, pulled me up into the clouds. And so that I was safe. I wasn't in that situation anymore. And so then I come down into this room. And it was a really fancy room. There was a lot of people standing around. And it was a coronation. It was a coronation, and I was being crowned the king. And so I come into this room, and it's a coronation. And all I can remember thinking is, I don't want to be king. I don't want to be king. And I ended up getting like pretty much like within 2 weeks, my uncle poisoned me. Like I remember being like I was drinking a goblet, and I got poisoned because my uncle wanted everything that I had, and he got it. He became the king. So, and then that was like a 2, 3, 4 hour session. We did some talking first, and then we did that. But where did I come up with this stuff? Like I certainly didn't think up these ideas before I went there or anything like that. Like it just come into your mind, and it was just like I was just saying these words that I'd never thought of before. I'd never heard anything like that. I mean, you hear, that happens, lots of I'm sure there's tsunamis everywhere, and there's, but this wasn't at the time of the tsunami anyhow. I think that's really cool, and I do because I have an agnostic belief system, which anything is possible. I do need some proof. I do think that my belief system tends to lie closer to recycled energy. Like we come back, and I guess all I can do is wait and see. Everything's in hindsight, right? We see everything in hindsight, and seeing that I have no fear of death. Luckily, having grown up in the Jehovah's Witness organization, I'm not scared of death, right? Because, we were Roman Catholic before that, the whole hell thing, hellfire, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, the whole just returning to dust thing, although Armageddon scared me for a really long time, I have no fear of death. If I return to dust, that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I'll have lived a good life. I made the most of it while I was here. I loved the people that I loved the best that I could. I'm okay with other people not loving me as much as I love them. And I'm okay if people even don't like me. That's okay. Honestly, vibrations, right? We vibrate at different energies. And if somebody's vibrating different than me and I make them uncomfortable, that's okay. They are where they are supposed to be. That doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make me wrong. I'm in the view that everything can be right just the way that it is, because we learn from the wrongs, which makes them right. Well, anyhow, I'm going to leave it at that, and I hope you learned something new today, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I love you because I love me. Take care.